My desire is always to be here, oh, Mull of Kintyre. Smiles in the sunshine and tears in the rain, they carry me back where my memories remain. The flickering embers grow higher and high as they carry me home to the Mull of Kintyre. Mull of Kintyre, oh, mist rolling in from the sea. My desire is always to be here, oh, Mull of Kintyre. white dove sail before he sleeps in the sand? How many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years can a mountain exist before it's washed in the sea? How many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? How many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times can a man look up before he can see the sky? How many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? And how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
be found like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. Oh, when darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me sail on, silver girl, sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine.
As I could have, and maybe I didn't treat you quite as good as I should have. If I made you feel second best,
You did, you did.
girl, I'm sorry I was blind. You were always on my mind. You were always on my mind. And maybe I didn't hold you all those lonely, lonely times. And I guess I never told you I'm so happy that you're mine. Little things I should have said and done, I just never took the time. You were always on my mind. You were always on my mind. Tell me that your sweet love hasn't died. And give me
and I will always love you. I will always love you. Bittersweet memories, that's all I am taking with me. Goodbye, please don't cry. We both know that I'm not what you need. But I will always love you. I will always love you. I hope life treats you kind. And I
Tell me, what does it look like in heaven? Is it peaceful? Is it free like they say? Does the sun shine bright forever? Have your fears and your pain gone away? 'Cause here on earth it feels like everything good is missing since you left. And here on earth everything's different. There's an emptiness. Oh, I hope you're dancing in the sky. I hope you're singing in the angels' choir. And I hope the angels know what they have. I'll bet it's so nice up in heaven since you arrived. So tell me, what do you do up in heaven? All your days filled with love and light. Is there music? Is there art and invention? Tell me, are you happy? Are you more alive? 'Cause here on earth it feels like everything good is missing since you left. And here on earth everything's different. There's an emptiness. Oh, I hope you're dancing in the sky. And I hope you're singing in the angels' choir. And I hope the angels know what they have. I'll bet it's so nice up in heaven since you arrived. I hope you're dancing in the sky. And I hope you're singing in the angels' choir.
Think of her as gone away. Her journey has just begun. Life holds so many facets. This earth is only one. Just think of her as resting from the sorrows and the tears in a place of warmth and comfort where there are no days or years. Think of how she must be wishing that we could know today how nothing but our sadness can really pass away. And think of her as living in the hearts of those she touched. For nothing loved is ever lost, and she was loved so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come together today in remembrance of a special person in our lives, Joy Martha Neal. On behalf of her adoring husband of 62 years, Glenn, her children Denise, Graham and Brett, her grandchildren and great-grandchildren, I welcome you and thank you for being with them here today. I also welcome all of those viewing online as they've been unable to be present, especially cousin Michael in Geelong. The family would also like to thank the wonderful staff at Yarrandoo for their care of Joy over the past 6 years. The kindness of all of you who have supported Glenn and the family during this difficult time is very much appreciated and will be consolation to them later during the inevitable moments of grief and emptiness. This funeral service serves many purposes. It is the reverent farewell of Joy, but it also recognises the value of her life and confirms that her life has ended. It also helps us all to face the reality of her death. At the conclusion of this service, you are all warmly invited to join Glenn and the family at the Yolla Football Club to share your memories of Joy and to support one another. To begin our service, grandchildren Melissa, Nicole, Hayley, Brittany and Colby will participate in a candle lighting ceremony in memory of their much loved grandma. Can you come forward, please? Joy, the first candle represents our grief. The pain of losing you is with us, and the flame of light will shine on our tears and warm us as we honour your life. The second candle represents courage, that which lay in your life and the strength you will give to each other in our loss. The third candle is for values, the values you taught us, the values you lived by every day, the values we will take through our lives. The fourth candle we light for memories. It celebrates your human journey with us, the times we laughed and cried together, the gifts that you gave us and those we gave to you, the hard times and the good, and the life that your life invited in us all. And the fifth candle celebrates love. It shines forth in joy as we know that love never dies. It goes on from person to person, from moment to moment in every age, and adds to the life of the universe in delight. Thanks be to you, Joy. Your love still surrounds us all. Thank you. Joy was a beautiful woman, hardworking, a great role model, a tad ahead of her time, loving and providing for her family and community. Her strength, vitality and determined spirit endeared her to all she met. She simply loved people and they loved her. To hear more about this wonderful woman, I call upon her daughter Denise to present her eulogy. Thank you, Denise.
It's a privilege to speak today to honour my mum, who was a determined, generous, selfless, hardworking and family-oriented woman. Many of you will know that she was a talented and voracious for what you might produce. Knit one, purl one, and off you go. As the jumper progresses, the project becomes more interesting as embellishments are added. The project continues. Sometimes things get in the way. Time, energy, and the tricky bits. You might get tangled or you might get stuck, but when the jumper's finished, you can look back on your work and know that all is good. Michael are with us today, as is Margie's daughter, Julie. Later we'll see some lovely photos of the 3 young Simons' children. They all attended Lilydale School and the local Methodist church up on the hill near their home. They learnt many skills from their parents, including how to cook in a wood-fired oven, how to milk cows, how to make butter, how to raise hens, and how to grow beautiful flowers and fruit. They may not have had lots of money, but they learnt to make do, work hard, and look after each other. And Michael asked me yesterday to mention about all the beautiful jumpers that my mum made for him when he was young. Joy and her sisters excelled at school, particularly in sports and home crafts. Her 1949 school report, which I found the other day, said she was a charming girl to have in the class. Joy's enthusiasm and willingness is a delightful pleasure for a teacher to have to come into contact with. Her final report said Joy has rendered outstanding service to the school throughout her school career. In all sporting and social activities, she has been a real leader, respected by staff and pupils alike. Throughout Mum's life, and you'll see from this beautiful photo, Turner's Marsh was always referred to as home. She always talked about, we're going home, or we're going up home. She loved visiting her parents and her family, and she was always happy as we drove down the long driveway with the beautiful views of the hills and the bush, through the gate, past the laurel tree, and around the corner to the door. She supported her parents as they grew older and often took the bus to Launceston to spend time with her mum as she required more care. Joy pursued a career as a teacher, and she became a junior teacher at the Lilydale School after she completed her schooling. After this, she trained to become a home economics teacher at the Domestic Arts School in both Hobart and Launceston. The girls she trained with remained in her heart throughout her life, and she often attended reunions of this group. As first in her family to gain such qualifications, she paved the way for her sister Jessie to also become a teacher, and she showed future generations, including me, that we should value education as a powerful way to take different pathways in life. Joy's first teaching appointment was to the new area school at Winnaleah. The school had been developed by the government to enable rural children in the far northeast to gain a secondary education. The building wasn't even finished when she went there, and at the time, Winnaleah must have seemed like the end of the earth. Following her time at Winnaleah, in 1958, Joy was transferred to Parklands High School, which was on the waterfront where the new UTAS building is now. During this time, she boarded in Wivenhoe with her cousin Ray, and she played hockey for ODA, attended church, and liked to go to theatre productions. After only 1 year at Parklands, Mum was transferred to Yolla Area School, and it was this move that changed her life forever. Some people in the room, including I think my Uncle John, remember her as a teacher. And a little earlier today, I met the canteen lady from that time. She joined the badminton club, and it was through what seems to be a set-up date from one Ray Jones over there and her husband Gary that she went out with Dad for the first time. At this point in his life, Dad had never had a girlfriend, and he says that that meeting changed his life forever. And so began a love story that lasted 62 years. And I don't think in that whole time I ever heard him say a bad word about her. Joy and Tiny were married on April the 16th, 1960 in Launceston, with Jessie and Margie, Laurie Neal and Kerry Hooper as their attendants. Mum made her dress, and I believe the girls all sewed their own bridesmaids' dresses. This same group of people met up many times, and how fortunate was it that they were all still with each other at Mum and Dad's 50th wedding anniversary. Mum moved into the house at Camp Vale, and Nana and Pop Neal moved out, all the way to Yolla. I was born on May 1961, followed by Graham in November 62 and Brett in August 66. Our early years were filled with time on the farm, with Laurie's family ever present. Sunday school, drives to all sorts of places, trips to Turner's Marsh in the holidays, and activities in the garden. Mum encouraged us with our learning. She read to us, bought us jigsaw puzzles and games, and taught us to be independent from a young age. I often had to cook the tea while she was off milking. She was heavily involved in the school mothers club, and some of those people, I believe, are here today. They were a powerhouse. They supported the school by running Saveloy days, ran the school banking, helped out with reading, ran school fairs and fancy dress balls. They offered a catering service to weddings and events. Mum always had to make pavlovas, flummeries, cream puffs, and whatever else was on the order. And I remember us girls serving tables at the Yolla and Elliott Hall. Mum always helped us with our homework. She bought us a set of World Book encyclopedias. And when I last looked at my old school books, which I still have under the house, I do now see that it was obvious that sometimes we did the projects, not me, because Mum's handwriting seems to be all over them. She made a big chart from brown paper to make us learn our tables, and that was very useful to me in my later career. She was very resourceful. She could whip up a fancy dress costume using her trusty Singer sewing machine with whatever was at hand. I remember one time she cut up an old brown coat and made a kangaroo suit for Graham. She made the tail from an old milking machine brush, and of course he won first prize at the fancy dress ball. All the time, Mum seemed really busy. She could pack more into a day than anyone. She could milk cows in the morning, and even when Brett was little, she'd put him in a wooden box so he couldn't escape, and help Laurie with the milking. She would feed pigs and calves and put in a full day at the house, including making a hot lunch, milking the cows again, then at night, and still find time to do things like bottling fruit, making relish and sauce, making toffee apples and marshmallow for the school fair, and then sit down and knit or sew. Throughout this time, we had a constant in our lives, which was the Jones family. Mum and Ray remained friends for life and shared many of life's up and downs with each other. They'd sit up at night waiting for Gary and Dad to come home from badminton and fishing trips that went long into the night. Us kids would be asleep on the floor or sharing beds while our mums sat by the fire and talked and knitted. We visited each other and had some great adventures, including trips to shacks at the lakes, a driving trip around Tasmania where we got stuck on Mount Arrowsmith in the snow, and a really memorable one where we went to Jeff Little's shack at the Arthur River and found it full of rats when we arrived. Mum and Dad also went on a UMT farmers trip to New Zealand with the Joneses, and that was Mum's only ever overseas trip. Cheryl, Lynn and I were lucky that our mums were crafty and they were up with the latest trends in patterns and crafts. They learnt to crochet and made us ponchos and vests when crochet was first trendy. And they had the best patterns for Barbie dolls. Our dolls had the beautiful coats, maxi dresses and matching sets of clothes. Ray and Mum also went through phases of hobby techs, hooked rugs, making flowers from wire and stockings. And I'm so pleased that Cheryl and Ray are going to help escort Mum out today. Laurie and his family were also constants in our lives. There was a well-worn track between our houses. They took part in everything, and it's lovely that Raylene and Terence are here today to also escort Mum on her final journey. Faye and John were also close by, and it was Faye who was a great support to Mum over the years. She often drove her places as Mum didn't drive, and they were both part of the Mothers Club and the Bowls Club. Mum always made outfits for my school events, my leavers dinners dress, and she even one night, I can't believe she did this, whipped up a dress on the trusty old singer between me coming home from school and walking into the social because I convinced her that everyone would have a new dress except for me. Neal brothers, Dad and Laurie, were a successful partnership, but the running of the farm was really Neal brothers plus one. As a team, the three of them worked hard to build the business. Mum did the books, kept the records, ran the CB radio, you all remember the Blue Badger, negotiated the deals around big decisions. She also worked alongside of them in physical work, milking cows, feeding calves, and later working on the potato harvester. She also supported many farming activities, including providing ample quantities of food for hungry workers. As time went by, I think every young man in the district probably knew Mum as they came to work for the energetic Neal brothers in the hay season, or in activities such as potato grading and cutting or chaff cutting. One of my earliest memories of Mum is helping her carry a great big Tupperware container of fresh tomato sandwiches and hot scones out to sweaty bale carters. Mum and Dad encouraged me to go off to university, and I left Yola at 17. Mum made sure I was well supported, and my friends at Jane Franklin Hall all knew about my mum. She'd make up batches of choc chip biscuits, Anzacs and Kiss biscuits, walk to Yola with the box, send it down on the bus, and that night my room would host supper to remember. Sometimes the box would also contain a new jumper or a cardigan or some cream puffs ready to be filled. And one time she even sent me a bag of steak. Mum always welcomed my uni friends to come and stay at Yola, but one night she did chase us around the lounge room with a poker because we arrived too late and woke her up. As time went by, work on the farm changed from dairying to mainly cropping. Mum cried the day the cows were sold. And one day, a few months later, she set off to milk Brian Morsel's cows to help him out because he was away, and she told me it was no bother because she missed doing it so much. Work on the potatoes was hard, but as I think Macca's here today, I can see him down there, he often told me that Joy could work just as hard, if not better than most blokes, and I'm sure there are other people who'd agree with that. She worked alongside Dad and Laurie and Terence, and then Dad and Brett to support their endeavours. When Dad took up indoor bowls, she used to watch him head off after tea and wait for him to come home. But I think she decided if you can't beat him, you should join him, so she got involved. She became the heart and soul of the Yola Bowls Club and the Inglis Association, holding roles such as secretary and treasurer and team manager. She didn't really play much, but she organised the raffles, made supper, and contributed in many ways. Many lasting friendships were made through bowls, and fun was had on trips to other states for national championships. Many parties and end-of-season trophy nights were held at our home, and Mum was very proud of her life membership of the Bowls Club. Mum's work on the farm did not stop her for continuing to do things for the extended Neal and Simon's families. She made Raylene's bridesmaids' dresses. She helped Laurie and Michael immensely when they lost Margaret. She adopted Terence's 3 children as pseudo-grandchildren, and Angie sent me a message to say she loved going to Auntie Joy's. She knitted for the younger Simons, nieces and nephews at Turners Marsh and handed down clothes to both her sisters for their children as we grew out of them. When Graham and Brett first had their homes, she painted them throughout, made curtains and helped them get set up. She was also generous to David and I. She came to visit and noticed that we didn't have a lawn to eat and hug 4 beautiful great-granddaughters. Being a grandmother filled her life, and we'll hear more about that later in the service. Just like knitting that jumper, sometimes the pattern gets a bit hard, and for Mum, that struggle started a long time ago with many health issues. She tried her hardest for as long as she could to not allow these issues to get in the way of doing the things she loved. She was stoic, determined, never complained in the face of pain and challenge. She tried to keep doing things for others as long as she could. I remember the efforts that she went to make a little hat and a bear to send to Canada for Raylene's first grandchild. She was so determined to finish it. She made a funny bear and a ball for Angie's Darcy and instructed me from her hospital bed on how to crochet a granny square to send to James. Her room at Yarrandoo was filled with photos of these new generations. When Mum moved to Yarrandoo, she was really sad to leave home and to leave Dad, but she knew they couldn't manage at home anymore, and she slowly accepted it as her new reality. She interacted with other residents and joined in with activities for as long as she could. She still tried to support others. She sat by Gwen French in her last days, and she visited Laurie every day that he was there. The staff at Yarrandoo told me just the other day she never once complained in the 6 years she was there. Life during COVID in aged care has been very tricky. Mum and Dad's 60th wedding anniversary was in the middle of the first lockdown, and they couldn't see each other. Their story became front page news on The Advocate. 1 year later, The Advocate did a front page story called Lockdown Lovers Reunite, which showed them together and happy celebrating 61 years, and the photos are in the service book. Mum's last visit from Jessie and Michael brought her such joy. The carers who saw the look on her face when she saw them arrive said that she was overcome with happiness. And the last three words that we heard Mum say were Margie, Jessie, Michael. Dad visited her regularly and always bought her an ice cream when he went, and she was always happy to see him, right to the last time we went. Mum, you've had your last trip to Turners Marsh, you've cooked your last cake, you've had your last trip on Don's bus, you've milked your last cow, done that last row in the digger, been to your last bowls meeting, the mix master is quiet, and you've had your last visit from Dad on Friday. Thank you for supporting me and teaching many things, such as how to cook, even though I'm a much messier cook than you, and my sponge cake was never as light as yours. How to knit, though I could never knit like that. You taught me to work hard, be generous, don't waste anything, manage your money well because it's important, plan for your future, say it like it is, be honest and never be pretentious. You told me not to argue with my brothers, and I think you would be proud of how we worked together to make this service just right for you. So, Mum, that knitted jumper that is your life is finally complete. You've stitched up the bits, you've sewn them together, you've tied off all the end, and you've packed away the needles. How lucky were we to have you, and how lucky was Dad that Miss Simons came to Yolla. Time to rest now, Mum.
Well done, Denise. What an amazing woman Joy was. We now have the privilege to look at some photographs of aspects of Joy's life that have been collected from the family albums. The chosen song to support these is Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Such beautiful memories contained in those photos. There will be part 2 of the photo montage shortly. I have some family tributes that I have been asked to read out on behalf of family members. The first one is from Graham, and it reads, "Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for coming to this celebration of Mum's life. All around us in the movies are superheroes, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Catwoman and the likes. My mum was a superhero. She never wore a cape. She didn't need to. On any given day on the farm, she would milk 100 cows, feed 40 calves, feed 200 pigs, prepare the evening meal, and help us kids with our homework. See if Wonder Woman could do that. She was adored by Colby. Colby loved going to Grandma's to learn cooking. He would specialise in scones and jam and cream. When asked, "Where did you get the recipe?" Colby would say, "Don't need a recipe, it's in Grandma's head." To this day, Colby can cook a mean batch of scones with no recipe because it's in his head. Mum was always so caring of others, always putting others first. On a stinking hot day, January day years ago, the chaff cutter was at the farm and everyone was working hard. Then out of the blue, Mum turns up and says to Macca, who was working on the cutter, "I have something you might enjoy." Mum handed him a silver tray with a lid. When he lifted the lid, there was a cold stubby covered in ice. To this day, Macca says it was the most enjoyable beer he has ever had. Mum was always good to us kids. It was always us, never her. Even in Yarrandoo, she never complained, always wanting to know about my life and the farm. People say my mum was a lovely person, and she definitely was. But to us, she was just Mum and Grandma. It's time to rest, Mum. All my love, Graham. And from Brett. I remember going to Burnie with Mum on Fridays on Don Sheriff's bus. This was a really special day. We would go round town, pay the bills, do the banking, have lunch at Coles cafeteria and sit in the booths and eat whatever I wanted. I remember Mum taking up early of a morning and taking my cat and getting in bed with Mum when Dad was out milking the cows. I remember driving on my L plates. Mum had a licence, but she didn't drive. We would go on drives everywhere. I don't know what would have happened if something had happened and she had to drive. I remember helping Mum feed the pigs and calves. I would come home from school and Mum would have something for snack and a drink. I would go out on the motorbike to get the cows for her to start milking. Mum worked on the potato digger and she also painted the inside of our house before we moved in and got married. Mum would also help me put up fences and fascia board on the shed. One day, Mum was painting the roof of the old shed near the house. All was going really well as she was moving along the shed until she came to the end and realised she'd painted herself into a corner. So she hollered out to Dad and Uncle Laurie, but they were up the paddock and couldn't hear her. So it took some time before they did come home for lunch and they got her down. I remember one time Dad was playing bowls at Prospect. He dropped Mum and I off in town to do some shopping and have lunch. Well, I had a big piece of cheesecake. When it was time to catch the bus back to Prospect, we missed it. So of course Mum said, "We'll walk." It was a really hot day and I was tired and I kept complaining and said, "Can't we get a taxi?" No. Mum wanted to walk and we kept walking and we did finally get back to Prospect. I remember birthday parties. Mum would cook heaps of food. I always had friends over and Mum always made sure we had plenty to eat and nothing was any trouble. When we told Mum she was going to be a grandmother, she was so excited she knitted her heart out. But she loved them all. One day, Dad and I were planting potatoes at Aldina and Marilyn, Melissa and Nicole came out with some lunch. Dad said to Melissa that she had Grandma wrapped around her little finger. And as Melissa replied, "Isn't that what grandmas are for?" I love you, Mum. Thank you for everything. I will miss you always, Brett. And the final one is from the grandchildren collectively. Grandma, we were so lucky to be able to live just a hop, skip and jump away from each other. We spent every moment we could at your house. We each share so many special memories of you. From feeding calves with you to catching tadpoles out of the cows' troughs and picking flowers, there was always something for us to do. We also had so much fun swinging off a rope onto the hay bales in the barn. We spent countless hours in your kitchen helping you or watching you cook. There were homemade marshmallows, chopped chip biscuits, apple crumble, vanilla slice, savoury toast, scones, sausage rolls, lemon slice and jelly slice were just a few of the things that we really remember cooking with you. Sleepovers at your house was something we loved, especially making popcorn in the popcorn maker with icing sugar sprinkled on the top and making a huge mess while eating it. Waking up in the morning and having you cook us either pancakes or scrambled eggs and bacon. The cups of Milo you'd make us were always better than anybody else's. You always let us have so much fizzy drink and lollies, you spoiled us rotten. We loved dancing around your house singing ABBA songs that you played from the record player and dressing up in clothing out of your dress-up box. And we loved playing bingo with you. Whenever Mum was in a bad mood, we'd run out the door, slam it behind us and run up the paddock to your house and dob on her. Even things like picking mushrooms in the paddock outside your house and taking them home to Mum in an ice cream bucket are memories that stick in our minds because everything we did was the bee's knees. You always gave us an ice cream bucket for our heads to run back home down the hill so the plovers didn't swoop on us. We remember the times we would catch Don Sheriff's bus from Yolla into Burnie to look around town. Every time we would ring you up, we would start off by saying, "Grandma?" And we'd wait for you to respond with, "Yes," before we started our conversation. Every time. We enjoyed collecting the eggs from your chook shed and we absolutely loved it when your chooks had little chickens that we could go to cuddle and look after. They were just so cute. The times we would wait for Pop to come home so he could take us to the Yolla shop and buy a heap of lollies from a couple of dollars that you would give us to spend. Or when we'd walk with you down the driveway to collect the paper for Pop to read. We would get off the school bus and run straight up to your house some days and eat toast with butter and tomato sauce as an after-school snack. The times we would walk to the Morse's house and eat a heap of jube lollies or caramels. Spending days at bowls doing raffle tickets with you is a great memory. You taught us how to knit, finger knit, sew, crochet and cook. We will be forever grateful for the fun times we spent with you and everything we learnt over the many years. As Brittany was the youngest, she had a chocolate barrel to herself with chocolates in it topped up just for her. Nicole shares your name as her middle name, which is really special. When visiting Yarrandoo, you used to love showing off your great-grandchildren by standing at the door and trying to get the nurse's attention and then saying to them, "Look what I've got here," and get them to come over and have a look at the babies. Every moment we spent with you was always special. Growing up and seeing our grandma every day was a blessing. Today we have mentioned so many memories from our childhood, but if we were to name them all, we would be here all day. Thank you for loving us, teaching us, guiding us, helping us, and shaping us into the people we are today. You meant so much to all of your granddaughters, and you were such an amazing lady. You spoke so highly of each one of us to your friends. You were so proud of us, and we are so proud to call you Grandma. We love you, Grandma. Rest in peace. The poem you find in your service sheet today is also chosen by the grandchildren and sums up their feelings for her. So to complete the photo montage, we're going to see another set of photos this afternoon to the beautiful sounds of the Seekers.
There is always someone for each of us, they say, and you'll be my someone forever and a day. I could search the whole world over until my life is through, but I know I'll never find another you. It's a long, long journey, so stay by my side. When I walk through the storm, you'll be my guide, be my guide. If they gave me a fortune, my pleasure would be small. I could lose it all tomorrow and never mind at all. But if I should lose your love, dear, I don't know what I'd do, for I know I'll never find another you. But if I should lose your love, dear, I don't know what I'll do, for I know I'll never find another you, another you, another you. Say goodbye, my own true lover, as we sing a lover's song. How it breaks my heart to leave you. Now the carnival is gone. High above, the dawn is waking, and my tears are falling rain. For the carnival is over, we may never meet again. Like a drum, my heart was beating, and your kiss was sweet as wine. But the joys of love are fleeting, for Pierrot and Columbine. Now the harbor light is calling. This will be our last goodbye. Though the carnival is over, I will love you till I die. Like a drum, lie
Would you all please bow your heads and join me with the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. As we celebrate Joy's life, we can take satisfaction that she has been and still is and always will be a part of our life. Her influence endures, as we've heard, in the unending consequences flowing from her character and her deeds. You can shed tears that she is gone, or you can smile because she has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she'll come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that she has left. Your heart can be empty because you cannot see her, or you can be full of the love you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live for yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember her and only that she's gone, or you can cherish her memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what she'd want you to do. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. It is now time to lay our much-loved wife, mother, grandma, great-grandma, sister, aunt, and treasured friend to rest. Many of you have flowers. Please come forward when you feel ready to place them on Joy's coffin and say your quiet goodbyes. Would you all please stand? Tenderly and reverently, we commit the body of Joy, Martha, Neal to the elements and ultimately to Mother Earth, from which all life comes and to which, in the end, all life returns. Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, grateful for the life that has been lived and for all that life has meant to us. May we resolve that while we live, we will strive with all our might to make our living of real worth. We are glad that she lived. We are glad that she was part of our life. We cherish the memories we have of her, and we know she will never be forgotten. May tender memories soften your grief. May fond recollections bring you relief. And may you find comfort in peace when thinking of Joy. For time and space can never divide or keep such a loved one from your side. When memory paints in colours true the happy hours that belong to you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will follow Joy on her final journey to one of her favourite songs that she would sing around her kitchen, Una Paloma Blanca. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
When the sun shines on the mountains and the night is on the run, it's a new day, it's a new way, and I fly up to the sun. I can feel the morning sunlight, I can smell the newborn hay, I can hear God's voices calling on my golden skylight way. Una paloma blanca, I'm just a bird in the sky. Una paloma blanca, over the mountains I fly. Yes, no one can take my freedom away. Once I had my share of losing, once they locked me on a chain. Yes, they tried to break my power.